Cool. Next video. Here we're going to talk about the constraint and match placement. So what this is going to be helpful for is, I'm just going to delete these because we don't need them. So if, let's say, for example, I know that this character is going to interact with like the plate. So I'm going to start off with a constraint, and so her hand is going to grab the plate. So the hand is going to be the parent. So I'm just going to select the hand controller, click on this little set button, and we can see that it fills in the space with the name of the wrist controller. And I can grab the plate and hit set for the child, and it sets the actual plate itself. And with that, I can click on this create animation constraint button. And the plate is going to start flying all the way to the hand. So before that happens, I'm going to hit undo. And I want to kind of store this location right here. So with the plate controller selected, I'm going to click on this create locator. And so this locator right here, if I turn locators on, down here, so this locator is right at the same position and orientation, so translation, XYZ, and rotation, XYZ, of the plate. So it's storing that location in there, like a nice little visual. So that's this whole create LOC button. So I'm going to click on this in order to create my constraint again. And we can see the plate has flipped all the way to the wrist, which is great. And I can use this new yellow controller in order to animate the plate. So this will be the new controller because the current plate controller is all in blue. And so this new controller, if I move and rotate this wrist, we can see that the plate's moving along with it, and this controller lets us still animate the plate itself. And this controller also has the constraint switches. So this top switch right here, it is the left wrist IK controller. So if I change this to 0, we can see that the plate shifts. If I hit S and move the hand, we can see that the plate is free from the constraint. But if I keyframe this to 1, as I move the hand, that plate is going to move along with it. Now, some animators, you might need to adjust the controller for the plate. So what you can do is isolate select with the controller selected, hold down right click, go to control vertices, and box select the control vertices. Why did you not show up? Control vertices, show NURB CVs, that's why. Okay, so object, isolate select, control vertices, grabbing all of these, and you can just scale them or adjust these to your whims of whatever's going to be easier for you to manage with the constraint controller. You know, some people might want to do something funky with its shape like this, and that is all right. It's not going to change anything inside the translates or rotates. Now there's this switch which will break the plate, the controller's access with the plate. So you probably want this left to 1 unless you start having other elements somehow controlling the plate. But let's say, for example, she has the plate in this hand, and then she throws it up in the air. So at a certain point, we're going to have this switch off as it's flying up in the air. And right now, this wrist is not affecting the plate. But in the very first frame, it is. Now, what if she catches it with her other hand? Well, I can grab this hand, place it as the new parent. I can still leave the child of the plate and hit anim constraint. And we can see the plate has moved, and it has a new switch attached to the end. So it hasn't really changed anything at all except having the new switch controller, which is linked with that first parent. So on this hand, it's off. I want to make sure it stays off. So this is still free floating in the air. So as we can see, this hand's not affecting it at all. And then maybe right here is where she catches it with this hand and just requires a little bit of readjustments. And so now we can see that this hand affects it, but this hand does not. So overall, we can add on the amount of parents. So even if she throws this up into the air and it lands on top of her head, we can have the head as a parent as well and hit constraint. And now we have the head as one of the channels as well. So right now, because the head and the arm both share as the parent, it's going to follow both, but I can leave this off for the time being. And I just want a keyframe to make sure all of them are set. And then here, set the head to 1, and it land on top of her head. And so as I move her around or her head, we can see the plate stays on top because of that parent constraint. So it's nice, powerful, and very easy to work with when it comes to constraints in general. This has been a method that I've learned from a director a long time ago. We're using 3 group nodes, but here I'm adding in a controller to control the adjust node, and it's going to carry all the switches to make life super easy. So this lets us, the animator, not even have to worry about the outliner at all even. Now, so that's the constraint. Now let's go back to the match placement. So I created this little locator right on the table. So let's say over on frame 14, she knocks the plate down and we want it to go back onto the table. I have that locator that was at its spot. So with the controller of the plate selected, I can click on this match to locator. So it's going to snap it back and also creates a keyframe at that spot. So now if I happen to move it around, we can see where the plate is maneuvering. And if I don't need that locator anymore, we can see it's match LOC right here. This delete locator will delete the match locator from within the outliner. And if you happen to create a second locator, it's going to delete the first one and create a second one at the spot of the newest location that you set. So you don't necessarily need to delete it, but it's there if you want to clean up the scene. And that is pretty much the animation section. So last but not least, we'll cover the Play Blast.